This is Odessa After Dark for July 8th. We'll be covering the disappearance of Ana Bell Juarez. We'll also be traveling to Floyd Gwin, where we cover the groundbreaking at the new park. And we'll also travel to Penwell for a ghost sound. And then we have an additional feature where we ask who God is.
Hi, I'm Daniel Ryan with Odessa After Dark. Today we will bring you the case of Ana Bell Juarez, who went missing January 27th, 1997. This case really caught my attention because of a number of details. Ana Bell went missing the morning of January 27th, but she wasn't reported missing to authorities till April 10th. At the same time the family reported her missing, they also hired a private detective to find her. So, you know, that's kind of interesting. You report her missing and you hire the private detective. Once the police got the case, though, they weren't able to do anything with it. From an article in the Odessa American, they said because of other cases that took precedent, they weren't able to look for Ana Bell until June. And so we're having a 5-month lag from when Ana Bell went missing to when Ana Bell's actually searched for, which is just, on a missing person case, is just a horrible amount of time. So we're going to bring you this case step by step. So let's start first with Eric, who's going to give you the details of when Ana Bell went missing.
Hello, my name is Eric Juarez and I'm with Odessa After Dark. So on the morning of January 27, 1997, at 5 a.m., Ana Bell Juarez left her house with an unknown person in a white pickup truck. According to her husband, she left to Okinawa, Mexico to visit a doctor, but the doctor never claimed she arrived. Right now I'm currently in the block of 3200 Chestnut Avenue, where Ana Bell Juarez was last seen leaving her house to go to Mexico, where she lives with her husband and 2 children named Diamond and Treasure.
What makes this case even more interesting, if your loved one went missing, why would you wait so long to report it? There was claims and counterclaims in the Odessa American when they interviewed both sides of the family. Oscar claimed that Ana Bell was having an affair and she went to Juarez to have an abortion, which she never made it to the doctor. Now, the sister and the mother claimed that Oscar was an abusive husband who tormented Ana Bell, and that she was about to move to Florida to be closer to her sister Danette. Now, which story is true, we don't necessarily know. We do know that Oscar left the family home shortly after that Ana Bell was reported missing, which seems quite mysterious. And he's been unavailable most times for comment, as most people do not know where Oscar and their 2 children are now living. Ana Bell's mother, for a number of years, lived in Monahans, and so she had a chance to speak to reporters in 2003, which she declined. Now, Ana Bell's sister did speak to reporters in 2003, saying that they still had yet to hear from Ana Bell 7 years after she went missing. So some of the questions we'll be asking ourselves is, what happened to Ana Bell? Did Ana Bell leave an abusive marriage and take off to Mexico never to be seen again? Was the woman in a pickup truck real, and that she picked Ana Bell to escape but had to leave the children behind? Or was there ever a woman in a pickup truck, and did Oscar do something to his wife? Those would be some of the questions that we'll be asking ourselves that we need the public's help with. Was Oscar an abusive husband? Did he beat Ana Bell and she took off with her unborn child to Mexico, where she's still living? Did something bad happen to Ana Bell and Oscar got away with it, and there was never a woman in a pickup truck? So we need the public's help with these questions, and we encourage you to call Crime Stoppers. You will remain anonymous. This will be a story that will be ongoing as we try to gather more information as far as what happened to Ana Bell Juarez.
Playground has got the tallest slide in our system at over 10 feet. The roof of that is going to be about 14 to 16 feet tall. So that's going to be a very, very big slide and a lot of fun.
This is hopefully the beginning of many things that is to come to District 5. And I wanted to thank John with PAL. Thank you so much for what you do. Can we give him a round of applause? The officers have done such a great job. And I wouldn't be able to do it. So we wanted to thank you guys. Also to conclude, I also wanted to thank the Parks Foundation for the, for the toddler playground. That's really going to be a wonderful asset to this park as well. 1, 2, 3. Yay.
And we're in Penwell, one of the first oil boom towns in Ector County, which is now currently a ghost town.
This is Zach Gerard, and we're in what at one time was the Joker Coffee Shop. It's been pretty gutted at this point. Behind us we have some of what remains of old bar stools. And that's about it.
One of the things we found among the ruins was this old-time doorknob. It's wood, so it was probably when the original building was built back in the 40s. The coffee shop was operational until the early 80s when it went out of business.
Hi, I'm Kate Eichert with Odessa After Dark. We are in Penwell at a service station which is right next to the Joker Cafe. Follow me as we walk around and explore this very interesting and creepy area. Hi there, we're inside the service station. As you can see, the place is quite dilapidated. There's tons of debris on the ground. This looks like it may have been possibly an office area, not really sure, but there's just trash and parts of the ceiling literally laying on the floor. Here we are at the service station again, and as the wind is blowing around us, we're feeling like we're going to blow right away with it. Right here you can see the place in the ground where the oil gas would come from, and there's obviously a drain right here. And it's a little creepy in here, I'm going to be honest with you. We are at the service station again, and these are the gas pumps, as you can see here. They've been here for a long time. One of them says that when it was still open, the gas cost 99 cents a gallon. And the gas also had lead in it. So, looking around at the debris, we're really having a hard time if we can tell if this is debris that was here when it stopped working, the station, or if it's just here like trash, people coming by and just trashing the place. It's kind of hard to tell. Here we are again in Penwell at this abandoned house. And the question that we're wondering is, what makes an entire community just up and dry out or vanish? It's a very interesting question that we think about while we're here. We are at a lubrication shop, and obviously it has not been open for some time. Notice that there is a very interesting wooden ceiling or roof, which is very rare. So we feel like this is probably one of the oldest buildings that we've encountered while we've been here. It also has stucco walls on the side, And you can see that there's a lot of debris out here as well, mostly wooden. I don't know if this used to be a door or a wall, but it's very interesting out here. Old oil cans, some bricks. Yeah, that is an old roof, you can tell. Look at the light fixture too. Here we are in Penwell again at an abandoned house. And the abandoned house itself is creepy, but we also have this equally looking creepy tree right here. So we have stepped back in time to the 1960s. As you can see here, we have a jacket from the era. We also have a letter, the stamp on it, a 4-cent Abraham Lincoln stamp. And it makes you wonder, what would make a person leave their personal effects in an abandoned building?
Hi, I'm Zach, and I'm here at the Unitarian Universalist.
Yes.
Okay, I always want to say it the other way around. And we're here with Tom Schmidt, and we're going to go over some questions. So the first one I have is, what are the central teachings of your religion?
Well, unlike most religions, we don't have a particular creed, but we do have a set of principles that are most people would agree with. We don't, like I said, there's not a creed, there's no requirement to agree with these, but the two principles that are at the foundation of Unitarian Universalism are the inherent worth and dignity of all people or all beings, and the respect for the interdependent web of all life, and which of course is kind of, those two things are kind of in tension. You have, the individual rights, and then the whole community and the interdependent web of all life. Unitarians and the Universalists were both came out in the late 18th, early 19th centuries. They came out of the Christian traditions, and they were still very much Christian at the time, but they both kind of grew away from being exclusively Christian to be, I like to say, they're inclusive still of Christianity, but not exclusively Christian. So we look to many sources, including the Bible and the Christian teachings and teachings of Jesus, but also we look to Buddhism, we look to Hinduism, we look to Sufism. I personally I kind of follow a lot of Sufism. There's we're also pagans. We're a lot of different things within the church.
Second question, it's a pretty simple one, but hefty one. Who is God? Assuming there is.
Well, that is kind of an assumption, and it actually reminds me of kind of a joke that's been around in Unitarian Universalism for a long time, and it actually goes back to our early days, our early history of Unitarians, and it was a Unitarian minister who was at this conference with other ministers. Unitarianism was still kind of new. This was in the 19th century. He's at this other conference, and there was, he was talking to a Methodist minister, and the Methodist minister asked him, he says, now if I understand correctly, you Unitarians did not deny the divinity of Christ. And the Unitarian minister thought about it for a minute and said, no, we don't deny the divinity of anybody. And meaning that we're all, the divine is in all of us. We are, kind of a Hindu idea that when a Hindu says namaste, the divine in me is greeting the divine in you. It's kind of, we're all part of that universal whole, which can be understood as God for some people, or so there isn't any specific, so we're very different in that way as far as our members can be. There are atheists, there are agnostics, there are non-theists, which is a term that I would use for myself, meaning I don't deny the existence of God, but a creator God especially, but in my personal belief system, it's not necessary to explain existence.
Well, it might negate my next question, which was, what are the attributes of God? But, so it's
well, then it's the universe itself. The universe itself is the God.
And many of the more prominent religions, there's an emphasis on submission to God and seeking the will of God. And so, is your religion like that in any way?
No, I personally, because again, we're very different, as Unitarian Universalists, they have a lot of different perspectives. But me personally, what I try to do is align my life with the universe itself, with what's going on around me. And so then to the point where my desires, my goals are in line with what the universe needs and wants. And so at this time, I kind of have a belief that we're here, we're born into certain circumstances, and it's not an accident, and that we have particular gifts and talents that meet a certain need at the time that we are living, and that the more we can align with that, our own, which comes from within, it's our own gifts, our own talents are the marker of what we're called to do.
What's the church's opinion on? Well, I don't know if it goes where there's a whole church-wide consensus, but what happens when you die?
Again, it's not. There would be no consensus on that. We come out of our history is that of Unitarian Universalists. We're Unitarians and we're Universalists, and the Universalist history sprung out of the idea of universal salvation, that everybody was saved, and this came out of the God so loved the world that He sent His only Son to save the world, not just those who happen to believe in Him or knew Him or had a relationship with Him, but for all people were saved, and would all people would then go to heaven because of Jesus' sacrifice. That's where our universal name comes from. And it kind of grew to be something different, but that's it's the idea that again with the inherent worth and dignity of all people, that there is good in all people, and that we're all part of this universal whole, and we all return to when we die, our energy, our life force, whatever you want to call it, is then returned to the whole, and there's only one whole. There's no good or evil side. It's just we're all returned back into that whole. So,
well, because I have a few questions, and we intended to ask every person that we talked to the same questions, and they're a little standardized. So, but we asked who goes to heaven, but we were considering that maybe there's not a.
So there would be everybody goes to the same place.
Right,
It would be kind of whatever happens to everybody equally, and there is no eternal damnation, and it's about living the best life here and now that we can.
Okay. Do you believe in any kind of end of the world, end time scenarios?
No, I would say no. Other than what we do to our, it would be the end of, even if we, global warming and global climate change and even given the zombie apocalypse, it's just going to be humans that die. The world goes on.
And you mentioned reincarnation, because we were going to ask, do you believe in reincarnation?
Reincarnation is a tricky one. And belief is another thing. It's hard. If I try to believe it and try to wrap my head around something, the idea of reincarnation, I'd have to say, no, I can't accept that as an idea, as a rational thing. But my experience is a little bit different. My experience is that there is this universal life energy that we can manifest in certain ways that may be an expression of other patterns of existence. I think Robert Pirsig, in one of his books, I think it was his second book, The Life of Leela, or something like that anyway, which was the sequel to Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And he talked about reincarnation in a way that, for the first time, I could kind of accept, in that, all thought is energy. Everything is energy, and thought is just an energy pattern. So we have we create these energy patterns with how we live our life and how we think and how we act, and it creates an energy pattern. And the more defined that is, and the more consistent that is, and the more likely it can be, that pattern can then be retained even when the body dies. And so it's just a pattern of actions, a pattern of thought that can continue, at least for a while, and can be maybe born into another body. It can be kind of, if you think of the brain as I do, kind of as an antenna of consciousness, then maybe you can pick up on certain things that other people, other patterns of living that have pre-existed you.
Why, this one's, you know, might not be able to answer, but why is life so hard? What's the deal? Why is it such a struggle?
Well, I think it's because we make it that way. I think it goes back to the idea of the interdependent web of existence. I really believe, my experience of life is that all life is interconnected at a very deep level, at the energy level, at the atomic level, at the subatomic level. We're all connected, and I think we forget that, and where we believe we're just this body, and that we're separate entities from each other, and so we forget our true nature as being this part of this wonderful whole, and we act as though we're these bags of bones and organs, and that my interests are separate from yours or yours, and they're just different. So we act according to ego rather than according to this this interrelated existence, and using which is based on love and compassion for each other, and recognizing that we are more alike than we are different. We have different bodies, different skin colors, and different beliefs, but at the core, when our basic desires are the same, and evolution has kind of put us on the same track, and we can laugh and cry with anybody from around the world, and we can see somebody, no matter what their cultural background, we can read we can interpret their emotions based on just a picture, and that's such a deep connection and that's the part we forget. We forget that we're deeply connected to one another, and so much of life, difficulties of life, is that separation from each other, and of course, and it's our desire for individuality, our desire for power, our desire for whatever it is, desire in general kind of creates this tension, and so when we don't get what we want, then instead of being in tune with the universe, we think we're separate, and when we don't get it, then we get upset, and it creates grief and suffering. So, yeah, it's really about us. It really boils down to our own perspective. We have, during the summer now, we have the Arts and Film Festival starting at 9:30 on Sundays, and we're showing different, we have different movies, thought-provoking movies. We have some different performances. We'll have some singers coming in. We have somebody doing a dramatic reading. We have lots of different things happening on Sundays through the middle of August, and before we return to our regular Sunday activities. And we have lots of things going on. Just always got something new, and hope to see new people all the time.
All right. And that's all we have. Thank you.